Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to math. It is comparing. We're going to compare and order decimals today. This is a lesson 11.5. But before we turn there, let's go over this just a smidge. Okay, so remember when we talked about, we've gone over the tenths place. I'll write the word down. Tenths, Tenths, the tenths place. And we've gone over the hundredths place. Okay, not tens and hundreds, tenths and hundredths. So if we think about them, the easy way to remember is if we only had dimes and pennies. Dimes are 1/10 of a dollar and pennies are 1/100th of a dollar. So let's pretend these two squares are a dollar. Okay, how many pennies would that be to make a dollar? There's 100 squares, so that would be 100 in each, 100. And how many rows of 10? So if each is a row of 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each of these would be worth like a dime. So each little square would be worth like 1 cent, and each row would be worth a dime, okay? So let's get rid of that. And let's compare a little bit more. So now we're learning to compare and order decimals. Okay, let's look at the first one. Let's compare, I'll write it down. Let's compare 0.8 to 0.6. Okay, let's draw that on our chart. So remember, each little tiny square is worth 100th and each row is worth a tenth. So let's see 0.8. Let's see right here. We'll have 8 rows. Because remember, that's a tenth. So here's 1/10. Do you see it? 1/10. It's like 1 dime. That's 1/10 of the square. 2/10, 3/10. I'll draw it in 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. Do you see that? Here, I'll go this way. Altogether, that's 8/10. There's my 8/10. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's do 6/10. Okay, whoa, that's big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/10. Now, if I were to compare these two, which one is bigger? 8/10 or 6/10? What do you think? 8/10 or 6/10? Let's get rid of that. 8/10 or 6/10? Well, I can see that 8/10 is bigger than 6/10. I can see it with my eyes. Now, the reason why this works, boys and girls, think about it in dimes. If you had 8 dimes or 6 dimes, what's more? 8, right? Because they're worth the same. So this is a tenth. If I had 8 of these, it would be worth more than 6 of these, right? If I had 8 dimes, it'd be worth more than 6 dimes. Okay, let's explore this a little bit further. Let's compare 99 cents to 38 cents. Okay, do you see it? 99 cents to 38 cents. Well, what place values do we have? We have the tenth right here. That's like our dimes. And we have our pennies, the hundredths. Okay, so let's put that on our chart. We have 9. Remember, the first number to the right of the decimal is the tenths place. And 2 hops over from the decimal is the hundredths place. So let's fill it in. We have 3/10 and 8 hundredths. Now, you say, Mrs. Kornthal, I didn't need to do that because I already know that 99 cents is more than 38 cents. Good. Keep that in your brain. We'll use that later. But what do we see here? This has 9/10 and 9 hundredths, 3/10 and 3 hundredths. I would say it like this. 99 hundredths, right? Just like 99 cents and 38 cents. Which is bigger? 99. Okay, keep that in your brain. We're going to explore this a little bit more. This is where you're going to get tricked, boys and girls. We're going to see this on our work today. What's more, 9 or 1? Ah, do not be fooled. This is going to get you. Watch this. Do you see what happened there? Boys and girls, when you have numbers, you can't just go so fast that you miss the place value. Watch this. Here's the 100th place. Sorry, the 10th place in yellow. If I was comparing dimes, right? If we were talking about dimes, do you want 0 dimes or 1 dime? I would want 1, Mrs. Cornthal. Of course you would. Now, this is the 900ths, so it is actually less. Are there any hundredths here? No. So if I was doing dimes and pennies, I would say I have 1 dime and 0 pennies. That would equal 10 cents. 10 cents is more than 9 cents. So you look at it 2 ways. You can compare the 10th place first, right? And we're going to do this on our work today. Or you can compare it as hundredths. What's more? 9 hundredths or 10 hundredths, right? 9 cents or 10 cents. What's more? 10 cents, of course. So 0.09 is actually less than 0.1 because place value matters. Okay, we're going to go over that and over that and over that today. Do not forget. Place value matters. Okay, so this is going to further explore our the same concept. So I don't know if you know this, but if you've ever gone to the library and looked for a book in the nonfiction section, they're all labeled with numbers. So in fiction, they do it by letter, and by nonfiction, they do it by number. So it'll be a whole number and a decimal. So knowing that, let's look at our chart here. Eduardo found a book on desert reptiles in the library's online catalog. So he typed it in, he looked for his book, and he found it online. Now, he's looking for the book on the shelf. The book is numbered 598, which is kind of fun because that matches. Look, desert reptiles, that's natural science. So that's why it's in the 500s, okay? Fun fact, at this library. Okay, so the book is numbered 598.2. Will it come before or after the book numbered 598.5? Well, what we see here, the whole numbers are the same, so we don't have to worry about that. We're just looking at the decimal. What will come first? Will the book come first? Will the book come before or after the other book? He sees a book on the shelf that says 598.5, okay? The book that he's looking for. Will it come before the book that he sees or after? So he's saying, does this book, 598.2, come before or after 598.5? Well, let's just look at the decimal because the whole number is the same. So let's just compare the decimal. 0.2, that's the book he wants, 0.2, and 0.5. Do you see that? Okay, so what is more? They've already done this little bar graph for you. So here's a tenth. We have 1, 2 tenths, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths. What's bigger? 2 tenths or 5 tenths? 5 tenths is bigger. So is the book going to come before? So if the number is smaller, just like on the number line, it will come before. So does the book come before or after? Yeah, it's smaller, so it's going to come before on the shelf. Okay, since 0.2 is less than 0.5, Eduardo's book will come first. Okay, we're going to hang out on this section for a little bit. Now, boys and girls, at any time, you can pause the video, write down any questions you have. You can stop. You can actually replay it. If there's something that you want to hear again, guess what? Instead of raising your hand to ask me to repeat it, you can just play it again. So I'm going to do this, boys and girls. Let's highlight the instructions. Write both decimals in the place value chart. Okay, that's first step. Add a 0 to the hundredths place if there is no hundredths. Okay, so that's like the penny place. If there's no pennies, no hundredths, we're just going to write a 0. And then last but not least, circle the greater decimal. So all those steps matter. If you forget to circle the greater decimal, you haven't done it right. So first step, put both decimals in the place value chart. So we have 0.5. And what did it say about the hundredths? If there's no hundredths, what do we do? Put a 0 there. And 0.88. And if there's no hundredths, we put a 0 there. Which one is bigger? Think about it in dimes, boys and girls. What's more, 8 dimes or 5 dimes? What's more? 8. So I'm going to circle this right here. Let's look at the next one. Let's fill it in because it says so. Now be really careful. This is how going too fast will mess you up. 0.01. But what does the next one say, boys and girls? It's different. It's 0.1. And there's nothing in the hundreds place. Do you see that? There's nothing there. So we're going to put a 0 to hold the place. Now, I could look at this and say, oh, it's the same. If I was going super fast, I might say these are equal to each other, but they're not. That's what happens when you go too fast. Place value matters. Let's look at this place value here. Here's our dimes, and here's our pennies. Okay, what's more, 1 dime or no dimes? Obviously 1 dime, right? And I could also look at it as hundredths. What's more, 1/100th, like a penny, or 10 hundredths, right? 10 hundredths. Either way, our right answer for the larger one, the greater decimal, is either 1/10, you can say it like that, or 10 hundredths. So it's this one right here. All right. This is one of those ones that goes really fast too. 0.64, 0.46. They try and use the similar numbers to see if we're paying attention. Let's look at it. Let's do the first step. Write it in. 0.64, 0.46. When you see it on the chart, you might try to confuse you, but let's just look at the place value that matters most. The dimes, right? The tenths. What's more, 6 dimes or 4 dimes? 6, right? And then if I were to look at it, boys and girls, here's another way. What if I were to look at it in hundredths? Like 64 hundredths? What's more, 64 cents or 46 cents? Still, it's the same answer. Okay? No matter which way you do it, it will be right. 64 cents or 46 cents? I know it's 64 cents. And I don't even need to look at the pennies, because if I know I have 6 dimes, that's going to be more than 4 dimes. Either way, you'll get the same answer. Okay, last one in this section. Here we go. Let's write them in first because it says so. 0.3. Is there anything in the hundredths place? No, there's not. So let's put a 0 in there. And then write the next one, 0.93. What is more, boys and girls? All we really need to do is look at the tenths place, right? And we'll already get our answer. What's more, 9 dimes or 3 dimes? 9 tenths or 3 tenths? 9 tenths. Super obvious. So I'm going to circle that. And I also know, boys and girls, if I compared it as hundredths, watch this. What's more, 30 hundredths or 93 hundredths? 93 hundredths. The answer is still the same. Okay, so we're going to do more of this. This is the very same thing we just did, except there's no chart anymore. We're going to have to be super duper careful. Now, what I'm going to do is highlight. If you have a highlighter or a yellow crayon, you could do the very same thing. I'm going to highlight all the tenths on this page in yellow because it helps me see them and not go so fast that I miss getting the right answer. I will tell you, this is super easy, boys and girls, and I bet most of you, without even knowing, I would ask you, what's more, 3 dimes or 2 dimes? And you would know the answer to that. But when you miss the place value on some of these, and I'll show you which ones are the trickiest, that's where you go wrong. So slowing down and paying close attention is what's going to help you succeed on this page and ordering your decimals. Okay, and some of these will have two ways to do it. All we really need to do, just like when we are alphabetizing words, we only need to look at the first letter first, right? We don't need to pay attention to everything else. So really, boys and girls, you only need to pay attention to what's highlighted in yellow unless there is a tie. Okay, if I have 1 dime and 1 dime, but I also have pennies, so I have 11 cents and 12 cents. What's more? 12. Did the ones matter? No. So we'll see that in some of these where we will have some tiebreakers. But right now, I'm going to show you the ones that only have tenths. Even though these are numbered 5, 6, 7, 8, we're going to go across. We're going to do 5, 6, 11, 12, 17, 18. Okay? Because those only have tenths. They'll be the easiest ones to do. Okay, so we're just comparing tenths. Think about just dimes. If you only had dimes, what would be more? 4 dimes or 2 dimes? Obviously 4. Okay, so 4 tenths is greater than 2 tenths. Okay, well, let's look at number 6. What's more, 6 dimes or 9 dimes? Obviously 9. 6 tenths is less than 9 tenths. Awesome. These are easy, Mrs. Kornthal. Great, I think so too. So what's more, 1 dime or 2 dimes? Obviously 2 dimes. So 1 tenth is less than 2 tenths. All right, here we go. Number 12. 4 dimes or 3 dimes? 4 dimes. 4 tenths is greater than 3 tenths. Excellent. 7 dimes or 8 dimes, boys and girls? 8. So 7 tenths is less than 8 tenths. Super. We're flying through these ones. All right, number 18. What's more, 1 dime or 3 dimes? I know it's 3 dimes. So 1 tenth is less than 3 tenths. All right, now here's where we need to pay closer attention. Let's look at this one. I'm going to show you 2 ways to look at this. And either could be right. Both of these have tenths and hundredths. Okay, so I could look at these in just the tenths. And I could ignore the hundredths place right now. What's more, 1 dime or 2 dimes? 2 dimes. Right? So I know that 1 tenth is less than 2 tenths. But let's look at the whole number. You could say, Mrs. Kornthal, let's just look at the whole number. And I'll say, okay, so let's look at the whole number because some of you want to. Both of these are to the hundredths place. Just like if we had 17 cents and 28 cents, right? 17 hundredths or 28 hundredths. What is greater? 28 hundredths. The answer will be the same, boys and girls. It will not change it at all. So if you look at this, if they both have hundredths, you can look at the whole amount like we just did and decide what's greater, 17 hundredths or 28 hundredths. 28 hundredths. Your answer will be the same. Okay, number 8. Let's look at number 8. What's more, 0 dimes or 5 dimes? 0 tenths or 5 tenths? 5 tenths, obviously. Okay, but both of these, same kind of thing. Both of these also are to the hundredths. I could look at these just like if I was looking at my pocket full of money. What's more, 4 cents, 4 hundredths, or 56 hundredths? 56 hundredths. The answer will be the same. Okay, so either way you look at that, if you have both of them to the hundredths place, you can easily compare to the hundredths place. But really, on all of these, boys and girls, you don't have to look past the tenths place unless you have a tie. Okay, so let's look at some of these without even looking at the tenths place. Okay, let's just ignore them for a little bit because we know the answer will be the same. All right, we have 2 tenths and 1 tenth. What's more, 2 dimes or 1 dime? 2 dimes. So 2 tenths is greater than 19 100ths. Got it? All right. What about number 10? What's more, 5 tenths or 6 tenths? 6 tenths. So I know that 5 tenths is less than 61 hundredths. Now let's look at, for the sake of learning this, let's look at this as hundredths. This doesn't have a hundredth, Mrs. Kornthal. Well, if there's not one there, what do? Put in 0. Like if I had 5 dimes, 0 pennies, I had 0 pennies. So it shows that I have 0 hundredths. All right, so let's look at that in terms of hundredths. So if I have 50 hundredths or 61 100ths, what's greater? 50 cents or 61 cents? The answer is still the same. There we go. Moving right along. Let's just do this one in hundredths. Both of these have tens and hundreds. See, tens and hundreds. What's more? 64 hundredths or 32 hundredths? 64 hundredths, right? I would much rather have 64 cents than 32 cents. Easy peasy. Look, these are in hundredths too. If there's 2 to 100th, you can just look at them together. What's more, 67 hundredths or 77 hundredths? What do you want, 67 cents or 77 cents? Of course, I'd want 77 cents. 60.67 or 67 hundredths is less than 77 hundredths. Excellent. Now, if I were to look back at that, but Mrs. Cornthal, you said I didn't even have to look past the tenths. It's true. It works out the same. What's more, boys and girls? 6 tenths or 7 tenths? 6 dimes or 7 dimes? 7 dimes. Answer's going to be the same. There you go. Do you see a pattern? Alrighty. Now this one, I'm thankful we don't have to look past the tenths. Look at it. Number 15. 3 tenths or 8 tenths? What's more? 3 dimes or 8 dimes? Now this is one of those ones, boys and girls. If you were going fast and you know who you are, who work really fast, you might say, oh, I know. I don't even have to figure this out. I know that 38 is greater than 8. Oh, place value matters, boys and girls. No. That is not it. You have to look at the place value. That's why I highlighted these in yellow. This is not 8, boys and girls. This is like 80. Do you see? It's the 10th place that matters. That's why I could just look at the 10th place and compare and be done. 3 tenths or 8 tenths? Which is greater? Do you want 3 dimes or 8 dimes? Of course you want 8 dimes. So 38 hundredths is less than 8 tenths. Do you see it? Awesome. I hope this is feeling comfortable. Yay! This is the one I was talking about that has a tie. Here's the fun part. Okay, I look at the tenths. There's a tie. Great. So we look at the next place value over. And if there's nothing there, we know that that means it's a 0, right? So I'm comparing. I know that these are a tie, so then I need to look at the next number. What's our next number? So we have 1 tenth and 1 tenth. That's the same. So then we need to look at the hundredth. Plus 100th or 0/100th. Which one's bigger? Yeah. And if we were to look at that in hundredths, let's say we make it into hundredths, right? We have to have tenths and hundredths, tenth and hundredths. So what's more, 11 hundredths or 10 hundredths? Yeah, 11 cents or 10 cents. Still, answer is the same. Okay, we are moving through this. Good job, boys and girls. Hang in there. Funny story, Mrs. Cornthal did this whole math sheet and then ran out of space on her iPad and it stopped recording. And this is the second time I'm doing this math page. I had to erase the whole thing and start again. And my voice is, I'm losing my voice a little bit from all these videos. So bear with me. You hang in there. I'll hang in there. We're a team. Way to go. Give yourself a high five. I just gave myself a high five and we're moving right along. All right, number 19. Let's look at it. You can do this 2 ways. You can look at the tenths and just stop, right? What's bigger, 1 dime or 0 dimes? 1 dime. Okay, 1 tenth is bigger than 0 tenths. Or my friends who love to look at the hundredths place, I can look at the whole hundredths place, tenths and hundredths. What's more, 11 cents or 1 cent, right? 11 hundredths or 100th. 11 hundredths is still more. It's going to work out the same either way you look at it. To prove my point, here we go. Let's just look at the whole hundredths. What's more, 22 hundredths or 44 hundredths? 44 hundredths. Okay. Or I could just have stopped at the tenths. What's more, 2 tenths or 4 tenths? 4 tenths. Answer's the same. Here's one of the tricky ones. Slow down. I might say, well, this will still work out the right because 98 is bigger than 70. But this is one of those ones where it could have fooled you if you weren't paying attention, because this one does not have a hundredths place. See, watch this. There's nothing there. So if there's nothing there, you can fill it in with what? A 0. Okay. But do I even have to do that? No, because I could look at the tenths place. I can compare dimes. I can compare tenths. What's more, 9 dimes or 7 dimes? 9 dimes. So the answer is 98 hundredths is greater than 7 tenths. Or if I wanted to look at hundredths, I could look at hundredths, right? And I filled in that 0. What's more, 98 hundredths or 70 hundredths? 98 hundredths. Excellent. Okay, very last but not least, I'm looking at the tenths place. What's more, 2 tenths or 1 tenth? 2 dimes or 1 dime? 2 dimes. Now, Miss Cornthal, can we just try one more time using hundredths? Of course we can. Let's put it in because there's no hundredth here, so you have to write it in ourselves. Let's compare. What's more, 29 hundredths or 10 hundredths? 29 cents or 10 cents? 29. Answer's still the same. Good job, boys and girls. Okay, so we're going back to our library bookshelf down here. Let's read the instructions carefully before we make a mistake. Okay, let's highlight them. I like this green color. Okay, these are the numbers that we're looking at. Do you see them on the books? So if we were ordering these, it must be nonfiction, and we're putting them on a shelf. So we're volunteering at the library, and we're putting them on the shelf in the right spot. And we have to put them in the right order so people can find them next time. So the one thing we need to do, I'm going to highlight in a different color this time. I'm going to highlight in darker green. I'm going to highlight all the tenths place, okay? Because it helps me see it. Maybe I'll even use a different color. We'll go back to pink. I'm going to highlight all the tenths place. Tenths, 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 tenths. If none of these numbers match, boys and girls, I don't even have to look at the hundredths place. Because I can just look at the tenths and think of how many dimes we have and say which one's going to come first. Well, I see a 0. On number 23, I see a 0 right here. So 0 is going to come first. So this will be number 1. Number 1, 0.01. Excellent. So what will come next? I see a 0. I see a 4. I see a 2. And I see a 6, all in the tenths place. What will come next? A 2. 0.2. I see, what comes next? 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 0.44 right here. So this is 2, this is 3. And then the last but not least is 0.6. Now, just to prove to you that these are right, let's turn these all into hundredths. So remember, if there's nothing in the hundredths place, we just add a 0. Let's see if we're right. Let's look at these in hundredths. Okay, so let's look at the whole amount. Hundredths. Think of money. So hundredths. We have 1. We have 20. We have 44 and we have 60. Are those in the correct order from least to greatest? Yes, we did it. Least to greatest. Excellent. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have, see if any of these match. We have 8 in the tenths place, 1 in the tenths place, 2 in the tenths place, and 4 in the tenths place. Yay, none of them match. That means we don't even need to look at the hundredths place if we don't want to. Okay, so first one, number 1, is there any zeros? Nope, but there's a 1 right here. So the first one on our line is 0.19. Excellent. What do you see that's the next one? 1. What comes after 1? 2. So the next one will be 0.28. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see a 4. 0.49. Last but not least, 0.8. Here is where people go wrong. If I did not highlight this in the tenths place, lots of people would have put this one first. 0.8, 8, 19, 28, 48. But boys and girls, what is that really? Remember, if there's nothing in the hundredths place, fill it in yourself. This is 80 hundredths. Okay, this is where a lot of people go wrong. Is they just look and go, oh, 8, 19, 28, 49. Okay, and they leave this one as the first one because they go, oh, 8, 19, 28, 49. And they end up forgetting that that's 8 in the tenths place with a missing hundredth. So that's really 80. So if we look at it again, with hundreds, now that we added that 0, 19, 28, 49, and 80 hundredths. Okay, so we did it right. This is where, though, boys and girls, I'm not kidding. This is where you're going to make a mistake. If you don't look at that place value, you'd look at this and say, oh, 8 goes first. Not true, because that's really 80. It's like 8 dimes and 0 pennies. Okay, this is a review, but I want to make sure. What happened? Why am I not scrolling? My page stuck. Huh. Okay, well, I literally can't move it. I don't know. See if this will, well, I'm going to have to do it this way. It's going to be a little bit smaller, but it's all I can do right now, and I'm trying my best. So I want you to pause the video. I'm not kidding. I want you to fill in this times chart. No, this isn't a whole times chart. It says, look, 6 by 6. This would be 6 times 6 is 36, right? 9 times 9 is 81. So I've done those two for you. You're going to fill that in. 6 times 6, 6 times 7, 6 times 8, 6 times 9. Now what about this one? 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, now pause. Fill them in yourself. Then start the video and check your answers. Ready? Go. All right, here we go, boys and girls. I'm going to fill in the chart. You've unpaused the video, and we're going to fill it in. 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then guess what? It goes the same across. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Excellent. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Excellent. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 9, 54. Remember our tricks with our 9s? You can use your fingers if you want to. 6 times 7, 42. 7 times 7, 49. 8 times 7, 56. 9 times 7, 63. Fabulous. All right, 6 times 8, 48 again. 7 times 8, 56. 8 times 8, 64. 9 times 8, 72. Ooh, 9s. I love it. Remember a trick for the 9s? It's 1. The first number is 1 less than the number we multiply by, so that'll be 5. 54, and then we can go up 1. 54, 63. The 1s come down. The 10s go up. 72. I like it. 80 minus 8. 70 minus 7. 60 minus 6. All right, here we go. So if you are rusty with those, boys and girls, please play times games on Math Playground. Ask your mom. Play war with a sibling, with multiplication. So just get the Uno cards out and then do multiplication war. Whatever it is, you need to practice, because these you need to be confident and quick on for 4th grade. All right, boys and girls, number 1 thing more than anything is love God and love your neighbor. Signing out.